Welcome back, JavaScript Dojo. Today we're going to be going over arrays, and one thing I did notice is they're using all the modern function style. So I'm going to try to explain arrays, and I'm going to kind of learn this as we go together. Again, I like the old function style with the curly braces like I was saying in the last episode. I hope at least one of these sections, if you've watched more than one, or if you're watching this one only, that you find it helpful. It's not going to be perfect, but let's go through it. All right. So let's go into arrays here. And again, every week there's always just something random that's going to be new. So most people drop off during conditionals, loops, functions, or arrays because it's where things get more complicated and it doesn't quite make sense as a whole, especially if you don't really know the fundamentals or just programming in general. So array, what it is it's an order list of values, and even up here you can mix type but usually keep them consistent. So an array, basically, if we look at this first one that says constant fruits, so they're creating a variable that actually holds essentially a list of items. So apple, banana, and cherry are actually stored in fruits. And console.log fruits 0, so they call this the index. And indexes always start at 0, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. In this case, apple would be 0, banana would be 1, and cherry would be 2. So fruits.0, if you were using the method console.log, which again just prints to the console, it would print apple, because apple sits at the 0 spot. Console.log fruits, and we know it has 3 items, so it would tell us the length is 3. Common array methods. So again, method, kind of looking at console.log. Once you've created your array or your list of items, fruits.push date. So if we're adding date in there, it's going to add it to the end. So then it would be apple, banana, cherry, date. So you're adding to a current list. Or pop, remove from the end. So if you just fruits.pop, it would remove cherry. Fruits.unshift, avocado would add to start. So avocado doesn't exist, it would add avocado to the 0 spot. Or unshift. And then fruits.shift, remove from the start. So if you just did fruits.shift, bye-bye apple. Okay, const nums, so it's creating a new list with just numbers, and there's also a sort. So it's saying sort A and B, and then return A less than B. And then the example output is it would order them. So it's kind of comparing A to B, A to B, A to B. So 1, 1, 3, 4, 5, 9. It takes a unordered list, or basically unsorted. They're all ordered by index, but in this case, the lowest wasn't at the beginning. So that just reorganizes the list. So iteration with lists, you can actually use functions almost like for or while with the list. So for each runs a function on each item. So scores.forEach, and then you're saying what to do. S return console.log. So if we're thinking about that over here, let me go over to the sandbox here. I wrote it as the traditional style. So scores.forEach, and then function S, and then console.log S. So it's going to go through each of these. Again, it's like creating a temporary variable, and then for each item in that list, it's going to run here, it's going to run here, and it's going to run here. So let me clear this off. So if we were to run this, it prints out 85 on the first console.log S, and it goes through, so it's going through for each item in the array, and it prints them out individually. So that's what for each. It's kind of like your for loop, but it's a specific method that scores can use, or that your arrays can use. And then map creates a new array and transforms, or from transformations. So if they're creating a new label, so constant doubled, and it's using the scores that's already created. So this one, the new variable is going to be this whole function essentially. So scores.map, which means it's going to go through and look at all of them, create a temporary variable and return the temporary variable times 2. And we know the temporary variable, it's going to go through 85, put 85 here, times 2, and it's going to return 170. So that's the map method. And again, if we wanted to look at that as the other style, let's take a look here. So doubled equals scores.map function s, and then return s times 2. So in that case, remember, return just returns it to the function. So if we actually, and in this case, that's the value of what doubled would be, is s times 2. So 85 times 2, 92 times 2. So if we were to actually console.log, this is what it'll show. So let me just comment out that one and uncomment this one so we can see what doubled looks like. This is the results we should get when we run this. And let me clear off run. So it creates a new array with the doubled values. Okay, and filter keeps items matching a condition. So it's created a constant variable called passing equals scores.filter. So that's the new method we're looking at. So it creates a temporary variable and runs that any temporary variable that's greater than or equal to 80. So in this case, 92 was above that, so it's only going to return the 2, or the low, excuse me, it's going to not return the lower one, so 78. And if we look at that as the other style, so scores.filter, that's the method, and it's built into JavaScript. So it's not something you need to, oh, did I need to create that method? No, that's just, the methods are built in as part of the functionality of arrays for JavaScript. So in this case, it's creating, again, the variable passing, scores.filter, function s, so s the temporary variable, and then return s. And since we're using the array, these are the temporary variables because it's going through them. Scores.filter, function s, 85, 92, 78, and s if it's greater than or equal to 80, and 78 was the only one. So again, if we were to comment this out, let me block this one so it doesn't do that one, and let me clear this. Now if we were to run this, it should return anything that's greater than or equal to 80 from scores, because we passed scores.filter into that function. So there we go, 85 and 92. All right, let's find out what's in store for us in this lesson. So let's move forward here. Okay, given const r, so it's the variable r equals, okay, so it equals an array. What is r1? So we know, again, the index, once you've created your variable, it stores all of these into that variable, and how you access them is what they call an index. And again, indexes start at 0, so 0, 1 would be the second index, so 20 should be our answer. Correct. Okay. Which method creates a new array, doesn't modify the original? So we're mapping the array. It doesn't modify the original. So it maps the original and sets it to another variable. And again, we learned that when we were looking at scores.map method. So we created the new one, and it was mapped out this one that we've already created. So it's not modifying, it's creating a new one. Okay, given const nums equals the array 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, use the filter, use .filter method to get only odd numbers and log the result. So it wants us to console.log, which is a method built in so we can see it on the console. This is a method built in for arrays specifically, and we want to filter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we could go back, to try to remember how filter was used. Let's scroll back again. We'll come forward to that question in a minute. So if we were looking at the filter, scores.filter, the way they had set it up was create a variable that returns s greater than or equal to 80. So we essentially just need to have s, we need it to do that function and return only the odd or even or whatever it said. So if we're looking at it in this sense, let's just say we're going to go to that function and we're going to filter function s, return s. So this is where we can kind of figure out how would we return odd or even. So let's take a look here. Return, we could use an if statement. We could, what's the best way to do this? Is it odd or even? Let's find out if it's odd or even that it wanted first. So let me continue because I don't remember. To get only odd numbers and log the result. So it only wants to grab just the odd numbers and log the result. Okay, so what I would probably look at would be, how would we get the odd numbers? So I guess modulus. So basically we need to figure out how do we get something that divides and doesn't return, what do you call it, like a remainder, because it would be even. So let me think about how to actually write this. I guess I would do it like numbers divided by 2. So then we have to create a variable and we have to use filter. So I guess we need odd numbers. So const odd numbers equals nums dot filter method. And let's just try to do it the modern way to see if I can learn. I like the other style better, but so nums dot filter. And we want to create a temporary variable. So s returns, that little return looking thing, s return s modulus. So modulus s divided by 2. Numbers filter, return s divided by 2. Does that look good to me? I'm going to run code and see if I get lucky here. Result should contain, should contain 1, 3, and 5. And it wants me to log, so console.log odd numbers. Oh, so it was the right answer. It just, boom. So basically what that's doing is it's saying s, which is pulling one of these numbers, and then it returns s divided by 2, so there can't do that, and it doesn't equal 0. 2 divided by 2 does equal 0, so there's no remainder. And 3 divided by 3 divided by 2 has 1, so that would be an odd. So it's basically trying to keep those. All right, let me take a look at one thing. This is a good moment for me to see if this even works. So I paused it for a second to try to figure out this one. So variable odd numbers equals nums filter function num, which essentially would be s. I can just do that to keep this consistent. S. So in this one here, it's returning to nums each time. So return s divided by 2 if it does not equal 0. So then if we were to console.log nums, or odd numbers, excuse me, odd numbers. I wonder if this one will work. Yep, same exact thing. Okay, good. Hope that makes sense. In a way, I kind of like the modern one because it doesn't require more lines, but it takes a little extra thinking to know what's actually happening within those brackets. And I think that this would have been appropriate inside of that as well. So it just accepted the answer. So if I went, let me see, grabbed the other style for the sandbox, I'm just going to delete all this and put that in there, clear. So I paused the video for a second and I tried to ask it if it needed this. And let me run it and see. 1, 3, 5. So it does recreate the new array inside of odd numbers with the function that you're basically running. So you're filtering a function so it runs through this. So that's pretty neat, right? You can make it as simple as you want. So if we were to say num equals num plus 1, let's just have fun here and just equals num plus 1. And we don't need this because we're not evaluating that. So num equals, or return num plus 1. So each time it goes through, so this actually should just almost ladder up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's pretty interesting. Alrighty. Hopefully that all makes sense. I know it's not odd numbers, but you're the one creating the placeholder. You're the one creating the variable. You're the one setting the function. And okay, I guess we'll move on. I may not have explained that perfectly or done something perfectly. That's kind of the goal of this. Learn and develop and advance that. But let's see if there's any more to this. Oh, here we go. Fill in the blank. Complete to get the last item in an array. So array minus 1. So what method? It's array dot, again, and when we have it built, what method returns the last item in the array? Do you remember? Was it pop? You know, this actually minus 1 makes it a little trickier because some programming languages, if you automatically just put minus 1, it actually just searches to the end. So let's look and go back just to be fair. Make sure how they're doing this. So we want the last one. So let's see. Remove from the end. So I would say dot pop. So we would actually do this. I feel like we're going to get this one wrong because that minus 1. Let's see if it actually teaches us something here, though. Let's go forward. Okay, continue. Array.pop, because that's going to remove the 1 from the end, and we need this, and then minus 1. So we're wanting the last. Array.length gives the count of items, subtract 1 for the last index, 0 based. Oh, they tricked me here, because it's actually the index. See how it's actually taking an array and it's actually looking for the index. So then it wants the index minus 1. Was that over here? This could be a good learning moment for both of us. So length 0 indexed. You know what's even probably better is to just, let me look at this here. I'll be right back. Okay, so it makes sense to me, but hopefully it makes sense to you. I just read the question wrong. So let me go to that one more time. So pop would be if you want to remove the item from the list, so dot pop. But in this case, it's the last item of an array that's already built. So array in the index, array dot what? So we want the length minus 1 because it would start at 0. So we really in here just need to actually put the length, yeah, dot length minus 1. So let's look here. Let me go back to the sandbox just so we can see it in action here. Const, odd numbers, no, we don't need any of that. So equals nums. Oh, hold on, I want to keep, so we can use the nums. So let's get rid of just these lines. And then we say nums. Wait, was it having us define that? Sorry. Yeah, we're defining it as a new variable. So const last, let's just call it last, equals nums, which is an index. So we're going to want to index this one. Nums dot length and then minus 1. Minus 1. Let's take a look. Okay, last equals nums dot length minus 1. Close that up. And then let's clear this. Let's see if we're right. console.log last. That way we can actually visually see it run. Unexpected token. Oh, it's because I accidentally put an extra one of those. All right. Nums.length is not a function. What have I done wrong? Let me look. Okay, so I'm actually not using the method. It's just .length, I think, is where I made the mistake. Oh my gosh. I don't feel, part of me feels like re-record this whole thing. You've got errors. But let's see if this is right. 5. Okay, so that's right. So nums.length minus 1, console.last, because it's going to go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, needs to do minus 1 because it starts at 0. So we know the length minus 1, so it actually finds the last one. Okay, perfect. Let me clear this off and run it again. 5. Okay, I hope that made some sense. And arrays, there's lots of ways you can use them. I'm trying to think. So when you're iterating through, a lot of times if you're using like database logic, you're going to have to use an iteration where it's stored like in an array. Sometimes they're an associated array, which they go with something. So if you have a database, let's just say that it keeps track of books. So it's indexed 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that first book is, I don't know, Mary Had a Little Lamb. Second book, something else. And you need to use something else to associate that array with an item in a, in the database. You may say, okay, this book always goes with children's section. So now you need to pull an array specifically in both. So then you're writing a function that pulls the number from that array. 0 is always going to be associated with Mary Had a Little Lamb. So index 0. And then you may have to do a function to say, okay, which book ID, because you might use book ID for all your other databases, which one associates with all of those different things. So you'll need to be able to pull and use that information. And you may even do that just displaying it on a page. Okay, pull this book, pull that information that goes with that book, pull the cost. And so if you're building that library of all that information, arrays are really helpful because A, you can find it. The time it takes isn't maximum. It's basically depending upon what type of search you're doing, it'll just find it because your array is already set at a certain length. Okay, not to get too much into the computer science concepts of, searches, and it gets really complicated later when you have vector databases and other concepts like that. I'm trying to keep it pretty high level and learn JavaScript a little better, apparently, as we go here. All right, so let's take a look. Next time we'll hit objects. Objects are kind of fun. I hope I haven't lost you completely. Leave me notes if you feel like I've messed up anything on this. And we'll just keep learning together. Let's see here. You guys have a good day. Bye. Or I guess I should go here. Bye.